Shota Imanaga is back. We'll play a little Scotty Doesn't Know and preview Week 15 up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosuzuka.
Carlo and Fado, value so high, but ADP so low. Frank Clubs, hit some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on June 27th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, Shota Imanaga is back. Shane Baz looked like a brand new pitcher. We'll preview Week 15 and play some Scotty Doesn't Know.
Oh boy, it's been a couple weeks.
Yes, we are back.
Maybe I've learned a lot during that time and I know things now. Maybe.
I'll see. All
I
right.
kind of hope not though, right?
You know what? I'm always rooting for you to get at least a couple right, just because I don't know. I feel bad that maybe I made them too tough to figure out, but whatever. That's part of the game. Anyway, let's jump in.
Can you believe it?
Wow. Shane Baz looked like a brand new pitcher, Scott. Tell me about it.
Well, he was great, first of all. That was the main way he looked like a different pitcher. 8 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. And this was the best start we've seen from him in quite some time. There have been little blips where he's looked decent. But, you know, this was his best start probably since he had those 2 double-digit strikeout efforts in his first 3 starts, and we were all thinking Shane Baz breakout was coming. There's a lot to get into here. I do want to preface it all with the fact that he was facing the Royals. That needs to be brought up because the Royals have been dreadful offensively, so much that they actually now rank bottom of the league, team number 30 in runs scored.
Wow.
They've scored a combined 4 runs in their last 5 games. They're averaging just 3.1 runs in June. So that probably had something to do with Shane Baz's success. But what I think you were referring to by saying he looked like a completely different pitcher is that, yeah, he's doing something very different with his arsenal. So it actually started 2 turns ago. In that start, he threw a cutter 18% of the time. The next start, 38% of the time. This start, 40% of the time. 18, 38, 40. Prior to those 3 starts, that pitch basically didn't exist. So it's gone from not existing to being Shane Baz's primary pitch in just 3 starts. Year of the cutter, right? I've heard people refer to this year as that, you know, the Eno Saris, Nick Pollock types who really get into the nitty gritty of pitching. They've been using that slogan to describe 2025. And it appears Shane Baz is on board. And 3-start stretch, right? 2 of those 3 starts have been scoreless. Now, the one 2 turns ago that was against the Mets, good offense. I don't remember us hyping it that much because he walked 4 in 6 2/3 innings. And in the start in between, he also walked 4. So with the addition of this cutter, it's not like he wasn't looking good necessarily because the control seemed like a big issue, but it wasn't in this start against the Royals. He walked just 1 in 8 innings, and, you know, got a great outcome. So I think I don't want to go crazy here hyping Shane Baz. Again, this one was against the Royals, a team struggling mightily on offense, but it's such a substantial change that you almost have to throw everything out that's come before then. And we're kind of starting fresh with Shane Baz now. And particularly when you factor in the results of this start, it's looking better.
Yeah, for sure. We had an extremely rough stretch there with Shane Baz, but threw 71% of his pitches for strikes here, 9 strikeouts, his most in a start since April 14th. That cutter was great. So I don't know, maybe we're turning over a new leaf here with Shane Baz. And on CBS right now, he is only 57% started. So Scott, after this start, 2 of his last 3 starts have been scoreless. Would you recommend getting him back in there against the Athletics next week? That start is in Tampa Bay.
I am not eager to do it. No, I kind of want to play this one cool. I kind of want to see how it goes from here. It's more justifiable than it was, prior to the start. Obviously, if you're short on pitching and Shane Baz, it's Shane Baz or some super scrub, then I think you can start Shane Baz. But I would not be eager to do it.
I think that's probably the prudent approach here. I don't think he's a must start. I'm a little bit more into starting him if, again, it's not a must start, but if everyone else on your team or you can't fill out your roster, I'd be all right getting him back in there. And the Athletics lineup is scuffling a little bit last 14 days, 22nd in WOBA. So it's not a terribly hard matchup here. Very interested to see where Shane Baz goes from here, but an awesome outing for him and a pretty good return for Shota Imanaga, who had a solid outing at the Cardinals. 5 shutout innings, just 1 hit, 1 walk with 3 strikeouts, had 7 whiffs on 77 pitches. So pretty clearly still being built up here, only 77 pitches. Whereas, normally when he's on, he's probably, between 90 and 100, something like that. But did a great job limiting hard contact here. The problem, and I guess it's been a problem all season, Scott, is just the lack of whiffs, right? It's 7 whiffs on 77 pitches. I don't want to put too much on this one because, again, he's still kind of working his way back. But even earlier in the season, he had 4 strikeouts or fewer in 7 of 9 starts. Swinging strike rate was down. The overall strikeout rate was down. So, still hoping that he can unlock more whiffs as he gets healthier here, but a nice return. Anything else to add on Shota Imanaga? What are your expectations moving forward?
Well, I think he's startable, plenty startable, more startable than Shane Baz. The lack of whiffs has been a concern. Also, he's made 9 starts now, has Shota Imanaga. Only one of those 9 has been 6 innings or more. And obviously this one wasn't coming off the IL. You could kind of understand that, him going only 5 innings in that one. But even as he's kept his pitch count pretty low since he's not getting strikeouts at near the clip we saw last year, he just hasn't been allowed to work that deep into games. So, maybe that was an early season thing. The last time we saw Shota Imanaga pitch was May 4th. But as we get into the summer months, maybe they'll need him to, particularly if he's turning in efficient starts with the low walk rate that he's always had. But he hasn't been doing much of that yet. And I find that I just find him less exciting overall than I think most of us were anticipating coming into the year. And I know the 3 of us on this podcast were down relative to the consensus on Shota Imanaga. But we still ranked him top 15, top 20 at least. So we still expected more than he's shown so far.
Yeah. And I was updating my rankings here on Thursday. I moved him up to SP21, maybe a little bit.
It seems a little high. A
little aggressive here, but I still have faith in the pitcher. I know we only have 1 season. I think the whiffs are going to get better. His swinging strike rate, despite being down from last year, it's still over 12%. So that is a good strike rate. I would imagine more strikeouts are coming. The main culprit has been the splitter. The whiff rate on that pitch is down from 43% to 31%. So I think it'll get better. And I do like Imanaga as like a low end SP2, high end SP3. He's 45% started on CBS and gets the Guardians next week. They are bad against lefties. They've been bad over the past 2 weeks. So fire him up. If you need, another pitcher, Imanaga's healthy, get him back in your lineup against Cleveland. I think that's a totally fine start. Before we hit the first break, big thanks to those watching us live. Thank you for being here. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's get into the news and notes. And Griffin Canning left Thursday's start with a lower leg injury. Looked pretty serious. Needed to be helped off the field. He could barely walk. And then after the game, Carlos Mendoza said they believe it is an Achilles injury. So obviously, brutal blow for Griffin Canning. I mean, this is something that can derail anybody's career. He was having a resurgent season here with the New York Mets. And just so interesting to me, Scott, that Achilles injuries, I guess not really in baseball, but across all sports have popped up more over the past decade than ever before that. Like, it's just, we just saw in the NBA playoffs, like 3 of the best players in the game went down with torn Achilles injuries. And, even football, it used to kind of just be like an old man injury. That's not really the case. It's kind of happening to premier athletes, which I don't know why that's happening.
I mean, we don't see it as much in baseball as we do in basketball, certainly, but we are seeing it more. The Ryan Howard, it seemed like such an obscure case when it happened to him. But we've seen it in more recent years happen to several players. It seems like injuries go through stretches like that. I don't know if it has to do with the kind of exercises that become trendy and it leads to different injuries than were happening before. But I feel like, in 30 years of being a sports fan, like injuries have their day, and right now it's the Achilles injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, to go along with all the arm injuries that we get from pitchers, but yeah, just across all sports, it's a problem right now. Bryce Harper could be activated Monday when the Phillies begin a homestand. He's been out with a right wrist injury. More scary hit by pitches here, as both Jose Ramirez and Vlad Jr. were hit on their right forearms, and x-rays came back negative for both, thankfully. Sean Manaea played catch on Thursday, 2 days after getting a cortisone shot in his left elbow. As we learn more, we'll let you know. Mark Vientos will return to the Mets on Friday. He's 75% rostered. I think that's right, Scott. Might even be a little high. I know Vientos was great last year, but got off to a really slow start, had this hamstring injury, and I'm not really sure what to expect here. But
my expectations are very low, to be honest. He had been losing playing time prior to the injury. Brett Beatty was starting more often, and now Ronnie Mauricio's in the mix too. And I think, look, if Vientos gets hot, if he goes on a home run binge, then sure, he could reclaim the third base job outright. But I don't think that will be the plan to start out.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Eugenio Suarez participated in light batting practice Wednesday. He was hit by a pitch on his hand back on Monday. They're still waiting for that inflammation to come down so that he can get an MRI on that hand to make sure there's no fractures, no breaks or anything. Apparently, Max Scherzer's right thumb felt better Thursday than it did following his final rehab start, so that seems like good news. We'll have some questions about him when we get to our Week 15 planner. Lars Nootbaar was out Wednesday and Thursday after receiving a pain-killing injection to address an intercostal injury. So, we'll have to see. I mean, if you play on the NFBC where you can change your lineup on Fridays, you might need to get Lars Nootbaar out of there. Lance McCullers is an option to start Saturday against the Cubs. He's out with a right foot sprain, but did some successful fielding practice on Thursday. Royce Lewis will begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Friday. No surprise, but he's on the IL with a hamstring injury right now. Shane Bieber threw a 20-pitch bullpen on Tuesday. He's returning from Tommy John surgery and is apparently targeting a mid-July return. I don't know how true that is. That was in the player update, but as far as I know, he was on a rehab assignment or starting up a rehab assignment, then had a setback. So he'll have to restart that assignment. I don't know, Scott. Mid-July seems a little optimistic for Shane Bieber.
I don't know that he'll have to restart it completely. Like I don't know that it's square one. Obviously, he'll have to. He had only made one rehab start, And when is he scheduled for rehab start again?
I don't think that
Do you
they
have that
have.
information.
I don't
Yeah,
think that they have revealed that information yet.
I
Yeah.
mean, mid-July, we're talking 2-3 weeks from now. So that does seem a little unlikely, but I could see early August for Shane Bieber.
All right. Mariners catcher prospect Harry Ford is joining the team in Texas on Friday, just in case Mitch Garver has to go on the IL. And Harry Ford was hitting .311 with 8 home runs, 43 RBI, 3 steals in the minors. A former first-round pick, really kind of took off this season. But I don't know that he'll matter much for fantasy unless, I guess they could DH Cal Raleigh here and there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Cal Raleigh plays as much as any catcher, and
Yeah, he's going to play no matter what.
You would imagine this year, yeah. So Harry Ford, he is one of the more interesting catcher prospects. His stock had slipped a little bit last year because the power just wasn't developing the way it was expected to. But he's done better at AAA this year than he did at AA last year, batting over 300, great on base skills. He's more athletic than the average catcher. Actually stole 35 bases last year. Only 3 this year, though, which is a little odd. He's been hitting better, but hasn't been running nearly as much. He did see some time in the outfield last year, sort of like Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers, but not a single appearance in the outfield this year for Harry Ford. So I would imagine he's not an option there. I think it's just, I think it would just be an opportunity to get his feet wet and, low pressure audition, but more as like an emergency measure. They have to carry a backup catcher, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, Kyle Harrison is working on revamping his repertoire at AAA before joining the Red Sox rotation next week. He is 14% rostered. That is one to watch because obviously comes with a bunch of prospect pedigree. His velocity was up this season. Red Sox have done some interesting things with their pitchers the past couple of years, so just something to watch with Kyle Harrison. Casey Schmidt had a CT scan on his left wrist come back negative. He was hit by a pitch on that left wrist on Wednesday. And there has officially been an update on the Wander Franco case. He was found guilty of sexual abuse of a minor in the Dominican Republic and received a suspended 2-year prison sentence. Jeff Passan added that because Franco was guilty, it would be difficult for him to obtain a work visa in the United States. And along with that, MLB is still conducting their own investigation. So obviously, pretty bad situation all around there with Wander Franco. But we knew that. We had our suspicions. Let's get into some waiver wire hitters here from Thursday. And last call for Agustin Ramirez. Scott, we've talked about him a long time. Still available in a quarter of CBS leagues, more than half of Yahoo leagues. 3 for 5 with his 12th home run, 3 RBI. He's got a 760 OPS. The quality of contact is great. The expected stats still look awesome. So this is your last call for Agustin Ramirez if you need a catcher in a one-catcher league.
I will point out, since we've been saying all those things since he got called up, and yes, it's still true. The expected stats: 280 expected batting average, 498 x slug. Can't ask for much better than that from a catcher. Certainly not a rookie catcher. His pull air rate is very low, 12.6%, and that might explain why he's underperforming them. It's not a big surprise from a rookie hitter. I mean, that is one of the finer areas that need improving oftentimes when a hitter gets called up. So it's not like that itself, the pull air rate itself, couldn't be fixed, and then Agustin Ramirez is delivering on those expected stats. But seeing that number, 12.6% pull air rate, makes it less surprising that he's underachieving like he has, and suggests he may continue to do so.
Mm-hmm. But it is tantalizing when he pulls the ball in the air, because
for sure.
The home run that he hit here on Thursday was a bomb, 443 feet, 109.7 exit velocity. It was pulled in the air to left field. So, I mean, that is what he is capable of when he lifts in the air.
Certainly from a long-term perspective, like a dynasty perspective, thrilled with what Agustin Ramirez is doing as a rookie.
Oh, yeah.
But from a short-term perspective, it's not a foregone conclusion that he eventually lives up to those expected stats this year.
Yeah, that's fair. But we also do have a lot of catcher injuries right now, too. So
Sure.
if you lost in Adley Rutschman or Shea Langoliers, although I think Langoliers is close to coming back, you might need a replacement. So there it is with Agustin Ramirez. Couple outfielders here. Josh Lowe picking things up 3 for 4 with his 6th stolen base, and he is batting over 300 with a home run and 2 steals over his last 11 games. And Cam Smith, a nice game here, 2 for 3 with an RBI and his 4th steal. Last 15, he's batting 345, 2 homers, 9 runs, 8 RBI, 1 steal, 914 OPS. Both are right around 70% rostered, Scott. Who do you prefer, Josh Lowe or Cam Smith? Does it maybe depend on format?
I don't think it depends on format because, Lowe, I guess, with his ability to steal bases, comes out ahead in Roto, but I don't think Cam Smith does anything to, relatively speaking, to put him that much ahead in points. So I think Josh Lowe either way. You mentioned Cam Smith, the 345 batting average in his last 15 games. You could trace it back much further than that if you want. Last 37 games, he's batting 313.
Nice.
Just 2 home runs, though, during all that time. So it hasn't... he hits the ball hard enough to hit home runs, Cam Smith does, but it just doesn't seem like the swing is optimized for that at this point. And it makes him pretty fringy, I think, regardless of format.
Yeah. I've got to be honest, Scott. I thought Cam Smith's strikeout rate was a lot lower than it is. Right around 27% is look, it's not egregious, but it is higher than you'd like for somebody in a points league. So I agree. What about Kyle Stowers? Is he behind both of those names? Would you maybe take him ahead of Cam Smith in a Roto league? He went 1 for 3 with 2 walks and his 12th home run. He was struggling quite a bit before this. He had 18 games between May 30th and June 19th, 187 batting average with a 541 OPS for Kyle Stowers. Scott, are you taking him over either Cam Smith or Josh Lowe?
Close call between him and Lowe. I might give the edge to Lowe now. It's a little hard to know how to approach Kyle Stowers because as a left-handed batter, he tends to sit against lefties a lot. And yet his numbers against righties are much worse than against lefties, to the point that when we get to the sleeper hitters for week 15, I recommend a couple of Marlins hitters because only righties on the schedule, but I don't recommend Kyle Stowers because the numbers against righties, let me look them up real quick so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Numbers against righties for Kyle Stowers, it is, let's see.
I have it here.
259.
260 with an 844 OPS, but all 12 of his home runs have come against righties.
Yeah. So that's compared, like he's batting 322 against lefties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. His OPS is actually 50 points higher against righty pitching. Yeah.
I'm looking at it now and I feel like a dunce because it's not as bad as I thought. I thought he was hitting like 220 against righties. I don't know what I was looking at before. Never mind.
You know what you might have been looking at? It's Josh Lowe, actually. Josh Lowe has been terrible against righties this season so far, and he's 9 for 29 against lefties. He's batting 310 with a 900 OPS. I saw his numbers against righties. It's, I think, a sub 700 OPS. So that kind of caught me off guard with Josh Lowe, who is playing more against lefties, so it's good for him. But you are right. Kyle Stowers has sat 2 of the past 8 games against left-handed pitching for the Marlins, despite hitting 322 against them. So I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
Yeah. So
I don't know what to do with it either. But it does seem like he's a better start for next week than I was giving him credit for, particularly. Well, I mean, he had been cold recently, but a home run Thursday. We'll see how he does over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have a trio of twins, which sounds a little weird, but all 3 homered here on Thursday. Trevor Larnach, his 12th home run, and he is hitting quite well in the month of June. 278, 4 homers, 854 OPS. Matt Wallner hit his 7th home run, but since coming off the IL, he is hitting just 160, so that's not great. And Brooks Lee, who went 1 for 4 with a walk in his 8th home run, he is also hitting well in June. 358, 4 home runs, 14 RBI, a 931 OPS. Scott, do you have any interest here? I mean, this is slightly deeper league stuff. You're probably looking at 12-team roto leagues or deeper for these guys, but any interest in Larnach, Matt Wallner, and Brooks Lee?
Yeah, we are looking at deeper leagues. Larnach sits a lot against left-handers, so that I've always liked the skill set for Larnach, and he's probably doing a better job of living up to it this month than ever, or this year than ever before. But if he's going to sit that much against lefties, it just doesn't matter that much in most leagues. We know Wallner can get crazy hot and carry your team for stretches when he's hot. The amount of power he's able to provide in a short period of time. But he's not hot right now. We'll see if this home run Thursday leads into a hot streak. But I would say not a lot of interest in Wallner at the moment. Brooks Lee, very hot in June, as you point out. A terrible strikeout to walk ratio for the month. It is 25% strikeout rate versus 2.5% walk rate. That's pretty awful. And average exit velocity for the month also just 88.9 miles per hour, which is better than usual for Brooks Lee, but still not very good. And so I remain pretty skeptical about his usefulness for fantasy.
All right, let's move on to some waiver wire pitchers here. One name in shallower leagues, Clayton Kershaw turned in a quality start at the Rockies. 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, but only had 6 whiffs, only threw 69 pitches in this one. Not nice. Last 4 starts, 157 ERA, 0.87 whip for Kershaw, 78% rostered. And a little sneak peek, Scott, I did see one of your sleeper pitchers for next week.
Yeah, that is mild praise because it's a rough week for sleeper pitchers. But Kershaw is facing the White Sox, and here he is turning in a quality start. I believe, is that 2 and 3, 6 innings or more, or 2 and 4? Something like that. He's had a couple of those recently.
I know his last 4 starts have been all 4 have been good, but only 2 have been quality starts.
Yeah. He threw 69 pitches in this one, which was his second lowest. Did you already say this? Second lowest total of the season?
I didn't point out that fact.
And the other was very brief. He didn't even go 3 innings in that start. So he was uncommonly efficient in this start at Colorado that allowed him to go 6 innings. I don't think we're going to see it very much. I think he's gotten like 2 whiffs on his 4-seamer all year.
Oof.
It's like a 1.6% whiff rate on that pitch.
Not great.
No, it's not. And because there's the efficiency issue also here for Kershaw, not the efficiency issue, but just they don't let him pitch deep. Clearly, they don't want him throwing that many pitches. It would take something like a matchup against the White Sox, like he has this upcoming week, for me to show any interest in him, I would say.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I probably can't pull this up quick enough, but yeah, it is a 1.6% whiff rate on the fastball, and he had 0 whiffs on that pitch here on Thursday. So, yeah, Kershaw pitching well right now. You can use him in the right matchups. Obviously, next week is the right matchup against the White Sox. Scott, would you drop somebody like Hayden Birdsong to pick up Kershaw? Because Birdsong had a rough outing here against the Marlins. 7 runs over 4 innings. He had 4 walks to 1 strikeout, only 55% of his pitches for strikes, struggled with hard contact, gave up some homers in this one. And all of a sudden, since joining the Giants rotation, it's a 5.40 ERA and a 1.44 whip. So what are you doing with Hayden Birdsong?
I mean, not just that, since joining the rotation, 61% strike rate. And we've seen now 2 of his last 3 starts, 4 walks or more. Or is that 2 of his last 4 starts? He's had a couple of high walk games recently, including this one Thursday, and only 61% strike rate as a starter, only an 11% swinging strike rate as a starter, which isn't bad, but it's pretty average. It's not enough to make up for the control issues Hayden Birdsong is showing. And so I'd be fine dropping him, even as he's in line for 2 starts this upcoming week. I have him in the no thanks section of the 2-start pitcher rankings. So it's fine to do that. If you need a streamer for this week and Kershaw's the best you could do off the waiver wire, fine. In the long run, I still like Birdsong more than Kershaw, but Birdsong doesn't have to be rostered anymore. And if like Jacob Lopez is out there, who's, spoiler alert, my top sleeper pitcher for this upcoming week is Jacob Lopez, I'd be fine making that swap.
All right, two other very deep league names, Scott. Do either matter? Simeon Woods Richardson, a solid start against the Mariners, 5 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts, and somebody named Dietrich Enns pitched well for the Tigers, 5 shutout, 4 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on 77 pitches. That is a great ratio. I was looking into him, and this was his first appearance in the majors since 2021. He pitched in Japan in 2022 and 23. And then he pitched in the KBO last year, and then he's back, and he had a very good start. Do either matter? Dietrich Enns, SWR.
Well, I think you looked deeper into Enns than I did. I saw a 34-year-old making his first start since 2021, and didn't bother to look much beyond that. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't great in the Korean League last year, 4.19 ERA. I wouldn't invest much of anything in Dietrich Enns at this point, I would say. And who was the other one we're talking about here?
Simeon Woods Richardson.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot more than this. It was a fine start here against the Mariners, 2 hits allowed, 6 strikeouts in 5 innings, but he's no newcomer, and what we've seen from Woods Richardson so far has been pretty awful.
Yeah. Only other thing on Dietrich Enns, it sounds like he is expected to be sent to AAA with Reese Olson nearing a return. I don't know. Maybe he's worked his way into another start, but interesting one. I don't think there's anything to act on there with Dietrich Enns. Let's take our final break. When we return, does Scotty know or does he not? We'll find out right after this.
It's the Big 3
On CBS.
Miami coming in hot. Big 3 is on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. It is time for Scotty Doesn't Know.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
If this is your first time playing along, here's what we've got. 7 players to get through here, so we got to keep things moving here, Scott. I will give Scott a stat or a fact, and then he only gets one guess to try and guess that player. In this game, we want Scott to get it wrong, because when he does, we play the soundbite. Scotty doesn't know. And then we talk about the player. So, Scott, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, first up, I am currently the SP3 in Roto, SP6 in head-to-head points. Who could it be?
Mm-hmm.
Not many options.
SP3 in Roto, and it's I've noticed it's usually somebody who played today.
Was it? I don't know.
He's higher in Roto, you say?
He is.
It's Hunter Brown.
All right. I made that one too easy.
Does know.
They're gonna get harder. I
Okay.
think they will. But it is Hunter Brown, who was nasty against the Phillies. 7 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts. He had 16 whiffs on 96 pitches here, and threw more curveballs. That pitch was money. Look, he's just been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's got a 1.74 ERA. Anything else to add, Scott, on Hunter Brown?
Not really. I've just accept him as an ace at this point. He was one of the pitchers I mentioned that I would take over Jacob deGrom rest of the way. And obviously after this start, my stance there hasn't changed.
Yeah. I actually have him at SP6. I have him ahead of Yamamoto, as Yamamoto has, slowed down a little bit. I know his start on Wednesday was okay in Coors Field, but Hunter Brown has just done it all season long. Really dating back to like the middle of May last year. He's been really, really good. So I have him ahead of Yamamoto. He's my SP6. So let's go. All right. Next up, last 31 games. This is a hitter, Scott. Last 31 games, I'm hitting 303 with 12 home runs, 29 runs scored, 31 RBI, and OPS over 1050. 14% barrel rate. Could be anything.
Over last how many games?
31 games.
Okay. 12 home runs.
OPS over 1050.
Okay. I'm gonna say 12 home runs. You said last 31 games.
That's right.
I'm gonna say Byron Buxton.
It is not.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know. Oh.
And Scott, you're going to kick yourself over this one because it is
Caminero. Caminero.
1 for 4 with his 20th home run here on Thursday. Mentioned the numbers over the last 31 games, kind of coincided with him, rekindling, meeting up with his a hitting instructor from the Dominican Republic. And overall, Scott, the numbers are awesome. I have thought about moving him ahead of Austin Riley in the rankings. What do you think about that?
I've been tempted to drop Austin Riley a little bit too. I've resisted because I know a lot of times he saves his best work for the hottest months of the year, and the track record is what it is. And so I don't want to shortchange Riley, but yeah, Caminero has been great. He, up to 20 home runs now, a little less than halfway through the season. The first line of that Caminero song is, "Can you name the Ray who hit that drive over the fence that makes 35?" And when I wrote the song, I was like, is that a touch aggressive? And I was like, oh, who cares? It's just a fun song. He might just exceed 35 this year. It's on pace to now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was trying to pull up the pace numbers, but I think we're at the halfway point, so that would put him probably on pace for around 40 home runs, right? He's on pace for 38 homers, 95 runs, 101 RBI, and that was before he hit a home run on Thursday. So
they're a little over their halfway point, or maybe there's factoring in some time missed. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's doing great.
Next up, I finished 3rd in Cy Young voting in 2023, but have been disappointing ever since.
Probably Kevin Gausman.
I make this too easy today, man. I was feeling a little bad. I was like,
when you make it, I just have to put my mind on tonight's box scores. That's the fatal flaw here.
I know.
Learn the trick.
Yeah, I think the one time I played it with Chris, I chose completely random names. He had no chance, which was not fair to him. But it is Kevin Gausman, who is great at the Guardians. 8 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts, had 15 whiffs on 104 pitches, 8 of those on the splitter, 7 on the fastball. This is a nice bounce back because the previous 3 starts were pretty rough.
Yeah.
Is there any rhyme or reason, Scott, or is it just, all right, Gausman goes through bad stretches and he goes through good stretches?
Well, previous 4 starts actually had a 7.65 ERA.
Yeah.
During the 4 starts stretch. And so this was a big turnaround for Gausman. It's funny because the main thing we were harping on last year was, he seems to have lost the splitter. The splitter isn't dropping as much as it used to. And that's, kind of his everything. So this year, again, he not getting as much drop on the splitter as during his prime, but he has initial success in spite of that. And then the splitter starts dropping more. It seems like it's back to form, and that's when he gets crushed. Sure enough, this start, the 8 2-hit innings against the Guardians, the splitter had 2 less inches of vertical movement. So the drop was gone again. It was more like the straighter splitter he was throwing earlier this year, and he had success again. So maybe he's not. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Gausman's process. Like I could speculate that, he's trying to force the issue, getting drop on the splitter, but it's just not the natural movement it had before. And so he's better off with this new approach he was taking early in the year. That's purely speculative, but it does make me rethink how I rank him as a 2-star pitcher for next week. I have him in the points league only section of the 2-star pitcher rankings, going against the Yankees and the Angels. I'm inclined to leave him there because that Yankees matchup is pretty tough, and the Angels, they're strikeout prone, but they've been pretty good lately.
I don't know, Scott. We might have to bump that up to advisable in most cases.
He had a 7.65 ERA in the 4 starts before this one. I will reiterate.
I get it, but the Angels are prone to strike out. Yankees lineup in June, below average.
I'd still be a little fearful there if you're looking to protect ERA and WHIP.
Looking at the rankings, I have this group of 4 from SP 36 through 39. I think I'm just going to dub them the frustrating 4. Jack Flaherty, Luis Castillo, Tanner Bybee, and Kevin Gausman. That's the frustrating 4 right there.
Bybee had a great start here Thursday, too. I don't know if we're going to get into that soon.
No. He's part of the leftovers for later on.
Okay. I like leftovers.
Last season, all right, next up. Last season, I hit 32 home runs with 112 RBI, 21 steals, finished top 10 in MVP voting.
32 home runs and how many steals?
21.
But nothing about how he's doing this year, huh? We're just talking last year.
Nothing.
Okay. He could be good this year. He could be bad. I'm going to say, I don't think this is right. I think the home run and steals would be reversed. But because I know he homered tonight, I'm going to say, now I can't think of his name. It is the Rockies center fielder whose name is Brenton Doyle.
Brenton Doyle is not.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
It is Willy Adames, who went 3 for 4 with a run and an RBI. And I noticed over his last 15 games, he's hitting .315, 4 homers, 12 runs, 9 RBI, 1 steal, .931 OPS, 93 mile per hour average exit velocity, 15% barrel rate, tons of fly balls during that time for Willy Adames. And I kind of think this could be a little window here, Scott, to buy before the numbers kind of catch up to where they should be. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I don't think he's going to be from today forward. I don't think he's going to come close to last year's pace still. But
correct.
Pre 2024, Willy Adames was still a solid fantasy player. He's better than he's been this year so far. So if there is some regression, the good kind of regression coming, I would anticipate that. And yeah, if you're hurting at shortstop and want to buy really low on Adames, I'm fine with that.
And I think with Devers in the lineup, who had a big game on Thursday, Matt Chapman returning soon, I think this Giants lineup is going to get better collectively. And so could help with the counting stats there with someone like Willy Adames. So I think he's kind of a sneaky buy right now. All right, next up, I have a 2.79 ERA, which isn't even the best in my team's rotation.
Do you now? 2.79, not even the best in your team's rotation. You must be Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah, you know what? You're looking at your notes. You're looking at something. I see your eyes kind of moving around and stuff when I bring up these names. The pitchers are much easier to figure out than the hitters.
Yeah, I just think who had a good start today.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, it is Christopher Sanchez, who was awesome at the Astros. 6 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts to 0 walks, 17 whiffs on 99 pitches, and he has a quality start in 5 straight, including 0 walks in 3 straight. That, Scott, is a nice development here for Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah, so we're seeing the best Christopher Sanchez now. The control problems, they come and go. Like when he tries to throw harder, as he's certainly been doing this year, the control sometimes leaves him, but then he gets it back. It's happened to him last year too. Last 4 starts for Christopher Sanchez, 67% strike rate, 69% strike rate, 77% strike rate, and then 70% in this start. Combined 2 walks in those 4 starts. The 2 came in the first of the 4. And yet it hasn't affected his ability to miss bats. He's pitching like an ace now. And you mentioned the ERA, the whip's looking a lot better all of a sudden. I think there's every reason to be thrilled with Christopher Sanchez at this point and treat him like maybe a top 20 pitcher rest away.
All right, next up, I'm currently averaging 3.1 fantasy points per game. That's tied for 3rd best among second basemen.
Well, I don't recall him doing anything tonight. but that does sound like what Michael Garcia is averaging. So I'm going to say Michael Garcia.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know. Oh.
You're kind of right and kind of wrong because Michael Garcia is averaging 3.1 fantasy points per game, but that's not the player I was referring to. It is Gleyber Torres, who continues his fine season, 1 for 3 with his 8th home run, 2 RBI. He's hitting 281. He's got a 386 on base percentage, 816 OPS, more walks than strikeouts this season, which am I back? Scott, am I here?
I'm here.
Can you hear
Did
me?
you go? I thought I went.
No. I think that was mine. But I don't know where it left off. Where did I leave off?
Scotty doesn't know. You're talking about Gleyber Torres and
Robo Frank here on we do kind of get it on Thursday nights. Gleyber Torres. We were waiting for him to kind of like regress and the walks and strikeouts to kind of, go back to where they normally are, but he just kind of keeps doing it. I don't know. Do you buy in a little bit more here, Gleyber Torres?
Yeah, I do. Because like the data shows he's earned what he's doing so far. I mean, 297 XBA, that's 91st percentile. I think what's really helping him in points leagues, especially more walks than strikeouts this year. That's unusual for him, but it just the reduction in strikeouts from a year ago makes a big difference in terms of our expectations for Gleyber Torres and batting average. So will it continue because it's kind of a new skill for him? I don't know, but given the state of second base, how few impactful options there are, I'm happy to just ride it out with Gleyber Torres. Hope it continues again, especially in points leagues because of that good walk to strikeout ratio.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so funny the way that baseball works, where has a contract year last year with the Yankees, disappoints, signs a 1-year prove-it deal with the Tigers of all teams, where it's a very tough place to hit, and boom, he's having this great season. And, it's not really that far off from what he did 2 years ago with the Yankees, right? He had an 800 OPS. He had a 10% walk rate, 15% strikeout rate that season with the Yankees. So I'm not sure he will maintain this level of plate discipline, but, just 2 years ago, we saw a really great season out of Gleyber Torres. So he might just be back to that player. All right, Scott, last name here for you. I am a starting pitcher whose K per 9 has dropped from 9.7 to 7.8, swinging strike rate from 12.2% to 9.3%.
Ooh. Over what span of time has this happened to you?
From last year to this year.
Oh, okay. Important detail there. That does sound familiar. It does sound like somebody I looked at tonight, but it's not coming to me. Is it? I don't know. I don't even have a good guess. Is it? Well, maybe Jeffrey Springs. He pitched tonight.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
I think Springs' swinging strike rate is actually pretty good this year.
Yeah, I did kind of mess with you on this one because it is Tanner Bybee. I didn't save him for the leftovers.
Trickster.
But, I had to get at least one more Scotty Doesn't Know in there. A tough luck loss here for Tanner Bybee. 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, 0 walks, 17 whiffs on 96 pitches. I actually think, all in all, this was one of the better starts that we've seen all season from Tanner Bybee, who, he has 0 walks in 3 of his last 4 outings. That was a major problem early on. We still need more strikeouts, but it feels like he's kind of slowly coming along here, Scott. What do you think about Tanner Bybee right now?
Yeah, and this is kind of how I expected it to go for him. He just kind of needs some time to find himself every year, and there are a lot of versions of him. He's one of those pitchers. I mean, especially this year, he's running 6 pitches out there. What seems to have worked his last 2 starts, because remember last time out, he had 10 strikeouts in 8 innings. It was kind of a weird start because he also gave up 11 hits. But I think on the whole, it looked like a better version of Tanner Bybee last time out. And what both of those starts have in common, relying less on the 4-seamer, which is his most thrown pitch on the year. But, he's gotten away from it the last 2 starts, really focused on the sweeper last time out. And in this outing, I think it was the sinker. So he has the freedom with that arsenal to tinker. And today he tinkered with the sinker. And, it seems to be working. He got multiple whiffs on all 6 of his pitches. And only 85.4 mile per hour average exit velocity. So weak contact. I think he's going to figure it out. I think he's well on his way.
All right. Well, that was it, Scott. You kind of knew today. I can't say that Scotty doesn't know, but
I got like half of them, right?
Yeah.
No, there were 7. I think I got 3 of the 7.
I've got to change it up. It's tough because I want to work in segments where I can talk about players that did stuff that day, but you're right. I make it a little bit too obvious if I do that. So I don't know. I have to change things up.
Especially Thursday,
Yeah.
short, light slate usually.
Yeah. And that's exactly why we need segments like that.
Yeah.
Anywho, now it's time for our Week 15 preview, brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort, no matter where the day takes you. Let's start with the schedule. There are 24 teams with 6 games and 6 teams with 7 games next week, including the D-backs, Royals, Yankees, Mariners, Giants, and Blue Jays. What about the Rockies? They have 6 games next week, and all of them are in Coors Field. 3 against the Astros and 3 against the White Sox. Starters sit these 2 star pitchers, Scott, and Chase Burns, welcome to the bigs, kid. You're at the Red Sox and at the Phillies. Woof.
Must start. I don't care.
All right. What about Jack Flaherty, who is at the Nationals, at the Guardians? Okay matchups here, but, he's been struggling in June. What do you think?
Yeah, so I have him as less than must start, but he leads off the advisable in most cases tier of the 2-star pitcher rankings, especially with those matchups.
What about Gavin Williams, who's at the Cubs and home against the Tigers?
I would leave him for points leagues. Too much whip risk for Roto, and those are obviously tough matchups.
We brought up Birdsong earlier. He's at the D-backs and at the Athletics.
Yeah, it's just a no for me. I could see doing it in a deep enough points league where you're just struggling to fill out your lineup. You'd rather go for quantity over quality, but I would prefer not to start Birdsong even in a points league.
This next one seems like a sick joke, Scott. Are you kidding me? Shane Smith got pushed back again, so he's not going to make 2 starts this week. He's at the Rockies and at the Dodgers next week, which he's probably not going to make 2 starts next week either. And even if in Colorado or at the Dodgers, no thanks. I'm good.
I can't hear the phrase sick joke without thinking of our show Better Call Saul. And old Chuck McGill on the stand. Anyway, so Shane Smith had been very high in my sleeper pitchers all those other weeks that he was in line for 2 starts, but it's gone poorly, so I'm going to shy away from him at the Dodgers and at the Rockies.
And I'm not even asking you about Zach Gallen. Do not use him. He's dead to me. 2-star pitchers to add and stream for next week. Scott, who do you have here?
Yes, I have a few names for you. Jacob Lopez, I told you, is number 1 on the list. Rays and Giants, not the best matchups, but the way he's been pitching lately, we do worry it's kind of a gimmick with the unfamiliarity of his delivery. But I'm hoping the gimmick lasts for at least one more week, and you could take advantage of those 2 starts. Ryan Nelson, I don't really understand him, but it seems like his fastball is just really hard for teams to hit, because the more he leans into it, throwing it 65+% of the time, much of the time. And this goes back to last year, so it's not just a one-year phenomenon for Ryan Nelson. The more he does that with the fastball, the better it seems to go. Run prevention has been great. His matchups are the Giants and the Royals, who again now rank dead last in runs scored. Then we've got Dustin May. We're just doing 2-start options. Skip Dustin May. He's a 1-start guy. Other 2-start options, Max Scherzer gets the Yankees and the Angels. I do have him behind his teammate Kevin Gausman. I do prefer Gausman to Scherzer. So we're in the points league only recommendations here. And also points league only, Edward Cabrera. I don't want to try to make fetch happen, but it's hard to come up with 10 sleeper pitchers every week. So Edward Cabrera against the Twins and the Brewers. Come on down.
Scott, yesterday you talked all this smack about Edward Cabrera, and now you have him in sleeper pitchers.
This is the duplicitous nature of the sleeper pitchers every week. I feel like a liar because I have to recommend pitchers that I don't truly believe in. You know, I got to find 10 who meet the criteria. I'm sorry.
No. What I want you to say, Scott, is I believe in Edward Cabrera.
I don't.
I hope it works out, man. All right, some 1-star streamers for next week. It looks like you have 6 names on the list here.
I do. And again, this is not a great week for streamer pitchers in general. The only one I really love is Jacob Lopez, and even his matchups could be better. But Dustin May is going against the White Sox. That should go okay. Should get a quality start out of that at least. Edward Rodriguez. Edward. This is the second time I've called him Edward Rodriguez instead of Eduardo Rodriguez. He gets the Royals, who again rank last in runs scored, and Rodriguez coming off a big strikeout game. Will Warren has also had some big strikeout games. He's at the Blue Jays. Clayton Kershaw, like his teammate Dustin May, gets the White Sox. Chad Patrick at the Marlins. Andre Palante at the Pirates. Not a very exciting pick there at all, but Palante, elite ground ball rate, and the Pirates are terrible. So I wouldn't surprise me if he gave you like a 6-inning start with only 1 or 2 runs allowed.
All right, let's slide over to the best hitter matchups. We have the Rockies, Rangers, Giants, Astros, and White Sox. The worst hitter matchups, Reds, Phillies, Mets, Orioles, and Guardians. Scott, who are your sleeper hitters for Week 15?
All right, a lot of Rockies, actually. They do have the best matchups, all at home. 3 against the White Sox pitching staff. So Ryan McMahon is their hitter who seems to benefit most, at least this year, from playing at home. And he's had a good June. Actually, he's been good since the end of April, about an 850 OPS since then. I know the overall numbers are still lagging for Ryan McMahon, but only 52% rostered. I like him for this week. Jordan Beck has also been hitting well lately. The other Rockies hitter I like for this week is a little further down the list, but I'll go ahead and mention Tyler Freeman, who I know you and Chris talked about the other day. He has been hitting so well this month that he's moved into the leadoff spot, reaching base at a 477 clip in June. Steals some bases as well. If the Rockies take advantage of those matchups this week, their leadoff man, you got to figure he's going to score a bunch of runs. Okay, other hitters I like for this week. Top of the list, actually, is Joe Adell, just because he's so hot and so available. 10 home runs here in June. Cam Smith, we talked about how hot he's been. He's one of the teams that visits the Rockies in Colorado, so hopefully he'll be able to add to that home run total that's been lacking. Couple of Rangers here. They have the second best hitter matchups and only one lefty on the schedule, which benefits both Josh Smith and Evan Carter. I think they're both fine plays this week. I mentioned the Marlins are only facing right-handers, and they're all their games are at home too, which we don't think of as a favorable place to hit. But the Marlins have 2 hitters whose numbers are a lot better both against righties and at home, and those 2 hitters are Xavier Edwards, who's been hot in general, 337 in June, and Jesus Sanchez. So I think they're both good plays this week. And finally, Trent Grisham, shown signs of life recently. He benefits from, he gets the double split benefit this week, just like those Marlins hitters. Nothing but righties in the Yankees 7 games. He's a 280 hitter versus righties compared to 189 against lefties. And nothing but road games for the Yankees this week. You'd think Trent Grisham would be better at home, but he hasn't been. It's about 50 points difference in the batting average on the road versus at home. So I think he's a fine play as well.
All right, that was the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. Another week, more new gear if you're watching us here on YouTube. This is their Hang Glide Polo, which is part of their active lifestyle collection. And if you see, the top half is like tan, the bottom half is black. There's some stripes on there. Love the look, love the feel. Actually wore it out to dinner on Father's Day. My pops liked it too, so there's that. Scott, you donning the blue polo.
You know, it's actually a kind of a faint purple color. I really like it. The camera doesn't quite get the color right, but it's a nice, you know, it's a good purple color. I was looking for a good purple polo.
Nice.
It's a great fit, nice and cool. I love it.
Yeah, unique, kind of like a pastel. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish as well. Let's wrap up here with some leftovers, Scott. On the hitting side, Spencer Torkelson, 17th home run of the season. He needed that. Previous 19 games before this one, he was hitting 157 with a 536 OPS. Kyle Schwarber, just wanted to point out, he's kind of having a reverse June. Normally, he destroys the ball in June. Right now, he's hitting 198 with a 682 OPS. In the month. What is going on with Kyle Schwarber? Michael Busch continues to hit well, 2 for 4 with his 13th home run. He has actually heated up quite a bit here in June. Ohtani blasted another home run, his 28th. Rafael Devers, his first 3-hit game with the Giants, added his 17th home run. And Pete Alonso, 3 for 4 with a double, a run, and an RBI. And he's another one who needed a big game. Previous 15 games before this one, he was hitting just 218 with a 34% strikeout rate. So, any names stand out here, Scott? Anything you'd like to add?
For the leftovers, I just said I love the leftovers, and then I'm speechless when we get to the leftovers. I don't have a lot to add. I guess I would just add that Michael Busch has benefited from the Cubs having a lot of righties on the schedule recently. He has played a little more against lefties, but I don't know that that's something that's going to become the norm. His numbers are really bad against lefties so far. It would help. It might get better if they played him against them, but you know, you like the 273 batting average, the 869 OPS, but there's still the platoon concern there for Michael Busch.
The call to the bullpen for Tampa Bay. Pete Fairbanks got the final 2 outs for his 15th save. For the Phillies, Orion Kerkering got the 8th inning with the game tied. He gave up a run on 2 hits, took his 3rd loss. For the Cubs, Daniel Palencia got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He allowed a hit, but struck out 3 for his 8th save. And for the Dodgers, Tanner Scott got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He allowed a walk, but picked up his 17th save of the season. To stream or not to stream on Friday, and the names that stand out on that day are Luis Ortiz against the Cardinals, Brian Bayo against the Blue Jays, Landon Roop at the White Sox, Noah Cameron, but he gets the Dodgers, Jose Quintana against the Rockies, and Jake Irvin at the Angels.
I see you took the liberty of bolding some names here, so I don't have to look as hard. So thank you for that. Yeah, I guess Landon Roop against the White Sox. We didn't even mention him yesterday when we were looking ahead to Friday, did we?
He was not on the MLB.com schedule.
Right, because we talked about Jose Quintana against the Rockies and Jake Irvin at the Angels, hoping he gets some strikeouts. But I would say I like Roop against the White Sox more than both of those. And I probably like Brian Bayo against the Blue Jays more than Quintana and Irvin as well.
Mm-hmm. On Saturday, we have Paul Blackburn at the Pirates, Slade Ciccone facing the Cardinals, Lucas Giolito against the Blue Jays, Adrian Hauser home against the Giants, Quinn Priester gets the Rockies, and Mike Soroka at the Angels.
Don't like these as much. Slade Ciccone feels like a good low-risk option. but he hasn't been working that deep into games in general. I like the swing and miss he's been showing, though. It's hard to trust Lucas Giolito still, though that matchup against the Blue Jays is decent. And yeah, I'm not so into picking on the Angels with mediocre starters like Mike Soroka and Jake Irvin. I know the strikeout total might be decent, but they can be a pretty dangerous lineup at times too.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually good with Quinn Priester on Saturday, and I am all right with Soroka. He's pitched better lately. He's getting strikeouts. Even last time out against the Dodgers, he looked pretty good. So I hear you. There's some variance facing the Angels, but I will go ahead with Mike Soroka in that one. And then on Sunday, we have Frankie Montas at the Pirates, Justin Verlander at the White Sox, Chad Patrick home against the Rockies, and Eduardo Rodriguez home against the Marlins.
Not ready to trust Montas yet, even against the Pirates, but I do like quite a bit, actually, as far as streamers go. Eduardo Rodriguez. No, my top choice, actually, Sunday would be Chad Patrick against the Rockies, then Eduardo Rodriguez against the Marlins, and then Justin Verlander at the White Sox.
All right, we're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks, as always, for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.